Fortunately, that's the shelf life. Daily, I eat a lot of green things, but there's no bad food. The mentality that I'm going to find, what food can I eat? And is this good? And oh, this has antioxidants. And oh, that's sugar, or that's carb, or that's fat. Or when we start cutting out, are we going to end up getting the balance of that nutritional breakdown that we just looked at? No. We are going to be missing some of the key elements that keep us balanced. Now, some of us believe that treats, let's just get them out of my house. Ever said that? I don't want any in the house because if they're not in the house, I won't have them. Okay, that is the thinking of a fat person. Because does a thin person run in fear from a donut? No. Treats are at the top of that pyramid. I don't like diets, and I'm going to tell you why in just a minute. But for this illustration, I want to share with you a study published in Prevention magazine. It's like 9 years ago. 2 diet groups, okay? Same number of calories, 1,200 calories, 1,200 calories. One group had the 1,200 calories, second group had 1,200 calories plus a half a cup of ice cream a day. Guess which group lost more weight? The ice cream group. By 40%. And they kept it off 50% longer. I was designed to like a brownie. I just came this way. What a blessing. I had nothing to do with it. It makes no sense that we're supposed to give up the very things that we like, because we're designed to like them. Does that make any sense to you? That somehow we get a stamp of good on our forehead if we don't have the things that we were designed to like? Okay, so if treats are part of what's necessary, the giant whole, ever felt like, but if I have one cookie, I'm going to eat the whole bag? Is that a problem? Okay, all right. Let's talk very quickly then about what happens when we eat too much of our treats, or really of anything. There's 2, you can take notes on some of this if you like, because it's going to change your life. Change mine. There's 2 great reasons for eating. If you eat for these 2 reasons, and these 2 reasons only, you will never struggle with a weight problem. One is for, but we were designed to have pleasure in eating. I'm going with the design. I trust the designer. What's the second reason? Yeah, we're supposed to enjoy it. There's no scar on my forehead for stoically not enjoying my food and somehow restricting myself and denying myself. But there is compulsive eating. There is eating out of balance. So true pleasure is tuned in tasting. So often, what happens is we feel a certain measure of guilt about eating because we're fat. And even though I want this orange and I need this orange, I feel a slight bit of guilt about it because I'm fat and I'm not supposed to be eating, right? We escape when we eat sometimes, whether it's guilt or distraction or anxiety or whatever the reason, we aren't tuned in and actually enjoying it with true pleasure. And because of that, if you notice the cycle, I'm entitled to fulfillment and satisfaction, but if I'm not tuned into it, if I go, oh, those chips and dip, they look so good, and I'm not supposed to have them, so I'm going to sit as far from the dip as I can, and I'm just going to pretend like I'm not eating them. When I don't tune in and really taste my food, when I'm not present, I don't get that sense back from my brain that says, yeah, Trey, you feel satisfied from 2 bites of that orange truffle. You feel fed. You feel done. But I'm not getting that because I'm not tuned in. I'm doing this. And so I keep eating and eating because I'm entitled to feel satisfied. I long to feel satisfied and fulfilled. But that message doesn't come back to me because I'm not tuned in. So now the bag of chips is half empty, and I'm like, holy cow, who ate those? Couldn't be me. And then I feel kind of gross and bloated and sick, and I'm filled with self-loathing, and I want to escape. And I turn to my old buddy food. So, these are the 3 keys to eating in the manner of a thin person. This is how thin people experience food. And it keeps you in balance and it keeps you tuned into your food. The first key is to own your food and enjoy it without guilt. I promise you, French women in the south of France who are sitting down to a dinner of foie gras salad and duck confit preserved in duck fat and wrapped in bacon and chocolate mousse and baguette with butter, I promise you they have 0 guilt. And they're tiny. Thin people don't run around plagued with guilt. Because when you're feeling guilty about it and you're pretending like it's not happening, you're not able to connect with it and actually have real pleasure, not escape. Okay? Number 2, taste the food for its true flavor and texture. I thought I loved food so much and that was my problem, and the truth is, I was actually tuning out. How ironic. I wasn't getting all the pleasure I could have. Let's have more pleasure. How does that sound? Anybody have some more pleasure in your day? Yeah? Oh, they are the party people over there. They're like, oh, yeah. Bring on pleasure. In the context of tasting it, you ask yourself, is this the flavor profile I like? Am I like really the Mexican, or am I the Chinese, or am I the Italian? Which kind of flavor profile am I really digging for this? Is it fresh? I found when I started to ask myself to really tune in and taste that those packaged cookies made and mass-produced, they never will have the quality to give me satisfaction. They just don't. They lost all their value. They're just not good enough. And I ask that question while I'm eating, is this really good? In the context of, is it worthy of me? Because you are a Ferrari, not a go-kart. And we're going to put Ferrari fuel in our Ferrari. And what happens to your metabolism? Okay, the last key. You keep that door open between your brain and your body the whole time you eat, so that you're asking yourself, am I satisfied yet? I claim it, I own it, I deserve satisfaction. No? I'm going to keep eating. Yes? Hey, the first time that happened, when I had to ask myself, am I satisfied yet? And I got that sense of, wow, I'm really celebrating, I'm really fed. That's a beautiful moment. That's a beautiful prompt to activate. I had never been full in my whole life. I could eat at Thanksgiving dinner till I hurt and I wanted to burst. And I still kind of wished I could eat some more. Anybody relate? But a healthy thin person gets a prompt back from their brain saying, you're done. And another bite would sound gross. There's peace there, there's freedom there. And it helps me stay in balance because I get exactly what I need, exactly in the amount that I need. Okay, we have such limited time. And the book I told you about, 10 Truths to Healthy, Thin, and Sexy, each truth is a chapter. And I don't have time to share all 10 and get into those with you. So I promise you I want to give you opportunities to get more of this information. And I want to give it to you as a free gift. So I want to send you a link to a national radio interview that I did that was quite lengthy, and it goes into these concepts a little bit further and gives you more detail. In addition to that, there's 5 tips that I give my coaching clients when they first start out, the kinds of things that really help them connect very quickly to their bodies. And I want to send you that in addition to that radio interview. And it's completely free. The radio interview, the content of it is about $150 in value. I'm just going to give it to you, if you'd like it. Anybody? Yeah? Okay. All right. I have some volunteers that are helping pass around clipboards right now. When that clipboard comes to you, if you will please give me your name and your email. It asks you for your cell phone number. That is solely for the purpose that if I can't read your writing, I can call you. Say, what is this email address, okay? So if you're a very neat writer, you don't have to add your phone number. Okay. Now, some of you are going to leave this and go, yeah, that was awesome. And then you're going to go home and nothing's going to change. It's true. And some of you are going to hear this and really connect and say, I want all 10 of those conversations and connections and truths. So I would hope that you would come get a book and get all of those conversations so that you can have the experience of freedom from weight issues for the rest of your life. And if you have a little voice in your head that says, it's time for me to do something, then when that clipboard comes to you, I would like you to put a star by your name, and it tells me that you want to have a personal conversation with me. And I'm going to call you, not this week, but later on, next week, and I want to have a chance to talk to you about the individual obstacles that you face. And we'll strategize about ways I can support you and some of the tips that I can give you immediately that will help you bust through some of the stuff that you're experiencing. It costs you nothing. It's absolutely free. And if you put that star by your name, I will call you. It may take a while. If you feel like you want to talk to me immediately, this is my number. You call me and it puts your name at the top of the list. Otherwise, I work through hundreds, and I like to take my sweet time on these calls and really be of service. So it puts you at the top of the list if you call me. So because this is special and this is IRD, I want to give you some extra golden juicy nuggets, okay? These are 4 tips. I don't normally share this with an audience, but I want to give you these 4 tips right off the bat because these make a difference in how you connect to your body, and they help bust a few myths too. Okay, why do thin people not gain weight over the holidays? Because it's what we normally do that defines us, not what we occasionally do. Remember the email that we read at the beginning? I had chocolate on Wednesday. I blew it. I'm a loser. I'm going to eat pie. It's not what we occasionally do that defines our experience. When we are normally living in balance, our bodies give us wiggle room so that that trip I took, or that illness I had, or that special dinner that we had makes zero net effect. And it's helpful because there's that idea that I have to gear back up to get back on the wagon. Anybody ever felt like that? Like, I was doing so good last week. Now I gotta gear up to get back on the wagon. Anybody? Okay. There's no wagon. There's no life. We're gonna have special stuff, and we're gonna have treats. We're gonna have fancy dinners, and we're gonna have, hopefully we're gonna have some celebrations. Or we're gonna have a food obligation. I was in Germany with my treasured grandmother that I lived with in the summertime growing up. And this was several years before she died. And I flew 2,000 miles to see her. She spent all day baking her 10-pound Apfelkuchen. This is apple cake with full crust. And she put a wedge on my plate. I was jet-lagged, had been up for 46 hours, a little nauseated, and she served me a dinner of pork fat on a bed of pureed peas. Breakfast for champions. And then slammed down a piece of Apfelkuchen. It's about 3 inches in diameter, this slab. It probably weighed 2.5 pounds. And then, because that was clearly in need, she put a big spoonful of whipped cream on the side. Well, I ate the kuchen. And I was happy to have eaten it. And I look back on that with such a tender memory I cannot even tell you. Because it's what we normally do that defines us, not what we occasionally do. And because of that, compensation is just a natural fit, right? I had the Apfelkuchen. The next day, I walked in the park quite a few times. I tried to eat some raw vegetables. I drank a lot of water. I was listening to my body and said, well, what's missing? Well, yesterday I had a whole lot of that stuff, so what's missing is more fresh stuff. There's no jumping back on the wagon. We compensate meal to meal. We compensate day to day. Okay? The third tip I want to give you is the rule of halves, and I have this in my book. And this makes such a difference because it identifies my default. And the rule of halves is just this. Take half of everything you're normally going to eat with the intention of taking a full amount. But just start with the half. And ascertain as you're eating, you're going to eat in the manner of a thin person, you're going to ascertain if that's the right amount. When I was growing up, my two brothers, who I've sandwiched between in birth order, they, at about 15 and 17, they took an entire box of corn puff cereal, poured it into one of those giant melamine mixing bowls, and put an entire jug of milk with it. And that was their bowl of cereal. So I thought I was doing really great until I did the rule of halves and realized that I was taking 4 or 5 times the quantity of cereal just by default, like Mount Everest, because it's there, you know? And I realized that I was full way before then. So the rule of halves is really effective at identifying where sometimes we default to more than we need. You can always have more. The intention with the rule of halves is not to cut calories or not to cut portion size. It's to take half it and see. Okay? And the last one, timing counts. Our design is perfect. What do we call the first meal of the day? Break fast. There's a cycle to every day. I'm productive and I need fueling during the day, and at night I rest and recover. And my digestive system has a chance to rest and recover as well. So timing counts. My body starts to wind down about 8:30, 9 o'clock. And starts to tell me, maybe I need a little more hydration or whatever, but I like to go to bed empty. How do you like to feel ideally? What's your preference when you go to bed? Do you like to feel full, medium full, empty, or hungry? Empty? I prefer to feel empty. I sleep better. I am honoring the design of my body, and the cycle of that day is complete. So timing does count. When we eat matters, especially if we're tuned in to the design of our bodies in that cycle. So, okay, I think we have time for another tool for you. The best way for me to clear out the static so that I can hear my body talking to me really loud and clear is to be active. I will never again be active because it burns a certain amount of calories. Calories are for a scientist to measure units of energy. It has nothing to do with a healthy thin person. Thin people don't run around counting calories and going, oh, okay, 10 more minutes on this stepper is worth another 375 calories. No, in fact, activity's value is that it speeds my metabolism. I would rather be active because it speeds my metabolism than the other 23 and a half hours of the day. It's not what it does for me the half an hour I'm actually doing it. It's what it does for me for the rest of the day. But if you tell me that I have to exercise the next, 58 years of my life, I'm going to be an optimist, because I'm going to live a long time. If you say, you just got to exercise 6 days a week for the next 58 years of your life, I feel overwhelmed. Does anybody else feel that way? Like, that's a tall order. Yeah. Well, let's change that paradigm, the way we view activity. And let's start with, again, looking at the design. Can you name one thing? I need to see hands. Name one thing in the universe that's not in motion. Everything is in motion. Were you designed to be static and sedentary? What were you designed to be? Active. Active. When we honor our design, we're not swimming against the current. Oprah says, don't swim against the current. I buy it. So, if I'm designed to be active and I want to get rid of that stop-start mentality that I had my whole life, anybody else feel like that it's a lot of gear up to start exercising? What's the #1 New Year's resolution? Yeah. So let's no longer have this start-stop mentality. Let's change it right now. Okay, these are 3 keys to changing the way we think about exercise. And the first one's a little controversial. It should never hurt. Ever heard no pain, no gain? Okay. Pain is a healthy message from your body saying it's time to change your shoes, change your workout, change your music, change your partner that you're doing it with, change something. You're not supposed to experience pain. That's swimming against the current. #2, it should be moderate. Now, moderate does not mean wimpy. Let me define moderate for you. Moderate means that you are active at the level of fitness that you're at today. Not the level of fitness of the guy in the P90X video, or the lady that teaches the kickboxing class, or the wind sprints you did when you were 19 in high school. Okay? It's the level of fitness that you're at today. Because if I can get up again the next day and do it, without pain, without being overwhelmed, I'll be active for the rest of my life, right? Who's more likely to stay healthy and thin for the rest of their life? The guy who gets a personal trainer for 2 weeks and for 2 hours a day works out in the gym with the trainer and gets tons of information. He learns technique and form and all the things he used to do, versus the guy who puts on his shoes during lunch hour and he walks for 35 minutes a day for a year. Walker. Okay. Yeah. Because slow and steady wins the race. 6 months into my journey, I got on the scale and I had been eating in balance and been active regularly, and I was despondent because I hadn't lost 1 pound. And I thought, that's it. I'm going to give up. It takes a certain amount of energy to put on my stretchy pants every day and exercise. And then I decided, well, what do I really want? And I wanted to model a lifestyle for my family of being active. So I just decided, well, okay, I'll keep exercising. I'll just be a healthy fatty. And something interesting happened. As I continued to be active at the level I was at, I found that I could do more, but it surprised me when it happened. Because I started out that first day, put on my shoes, and I walked to the end of the block and back. And I did that for weeks. Took 5 minutes. I'm pretty sure my neighbor thought I was a loony walking past his window, back and forth, back and forth. And then after a couple of weeks, it surprised me, because then I thought, I've already got my shoes on. I feel fine. There's no reason I can't walk around the block. So I did. Took 10 minutes. Did that for weeks before going up in little increments. And after about 2 years of walking, I was now up to 40 minutes. I saw some people at the park when I was walking, and do you know what they were doing? They were jogging. Ever looked at the face of runners? They don't look like they're having a good time, right? And I thought to myself, what's the deal with running? And I thought, well, what would happen, if I tried it? This is so crazy. So I had started walking, and about, 15 minutes into my walk, I decided to add a little shuffle. And it's about like this. And I thought, I can do this. And it was about 5 minutes worth of shuffle, and I kept it. I still shuffle. And I said, honey, my husband, honey, guess what? I am a runner. And he said, babe, grandma could beat you with her walker. He's walking next to me, normal pace. And I said, I know, but I'm a runner. And it's not a race. The key thing I ask my coaching clients every time we talk, I said, did you underwhelm yourself today? And if they underwhelm themselves with activity, give them a big hug. Underwhelm. I'd like to do something here. Would you just check under your chair and see if there's a taped business card under your chair? If you find a taped business card under your chair, it should be easy to grab. Okay, it's on the back. I didn't hide it, so I don't even know who has it. It's on the back of your chair. Does anybody see a business card taped to the back? Back here. Back against your headrest.
Over there.
Ah, our lucky winner. Can you come up, whoever had it? She's making her way forward. I have a quick illustration about activity. Come on. Shuffle. They want to see the shuffle. Okay. I'm going to come down to you. What's your name?
Hatfield. I'm from Fullerton, California.
Can you give an applause to Mary Jo Hatfield from Fullerton, California? She's our winner. I'd like to present you, Mary Jo, with a gift from me. Would you mind opening it and telling everybody what you see?
It's a really pretty necklace. Yes, it is. Looks like black pearls.
You like it?
Oh yeah. It's pretty.
These are black pearls set with crystals, and this is a real necklace. And I'd like to ask you if you'll accept it as my gift to you.
Put my earrings that I have at home with it.
Good. Yay. Can you give it a round of applause to Mary Jo? Okay. Don't leave yet. Don't leave yet, Mary Jo. When we are active, it's like we're giving ourselves a big present. And
An hour a day with my friend.
way to go! I love it.
We pushed my cat in a pet carriage.
Okay. I think I want to come back in my next life as her cat. Anybody feel like if somebody handed you a beautiful blue jewelry box from Tiffany's, that you would say, oh gosh, no thanks, not today. I'm just full up of precious stuff. When you are reluctant to be active, and everybody has days where you feel reluctant to be active, remember that this is the gift you give yourself. That 30 to 40 minutes of time that I spend being active may be the only 30 to 40 minutes I spend that day strictly for me. And I'm never full up of precious stuff. Thank you very much. From my left.
Thank you. I'll put it on.
Okay. All right. I promised, we have a little bit of time. I promised I would tell you why I hate diets so much. Okay, so back to 6 months into my journey, I haven't lost any weight, and I'm thinking to myself, that's it. I gotta do something crazy. Ever felt desperate? Yeah, that's a dumb question, right? There's nothing that isn't desperate about feeling disconnected from who you really are on the inside. So I thought, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go on a diet. Okay, here's what I learned about diets. Diets are a temporary vacation from those original behaviors that got me out of balance in the first place. Temporary vacation. Remember when we said at the beginning that when I get what I need when I need it, my system's going to run better? Okay, so now I'm on the diet. following it, and I'm so good, right? Which is a myth, there's no such thing. But I think I'm being good. And now my body says, ooh, an orange sounds so good. It'll be so juicy and sweet. I'm like, well, it's not on my calorie chart. It's not part of the freeze-dried food. It's not part of the powdered shake thing. It's got too many carbs. Whatever the deal is with the diet. So I am strong and I restrict. And I lose weight temporarily because I'm in calorie restriction. But my metabolism slows down. Okay, the diet now ends because it was designed to. It's a temporary vacation. You're not weak because nobody's supposed to live the rest of their life without a piece of bread. It's just the way it is. So the diet ends, and I return to those original behaviors that got me out of balance with a slower metabolism. Anybody ever remember when Oprah went on that liquid fast for 4 months so she could take a picture in size 8 jeans for 1 day? And 3 months later, she returned to her original weight plus 50-some pounds. Yeah. So at the end of the diet, there's this little bit of fine print, and it's called the maintenance phase. Ever heard of that? Transition phase, sometimes they call it? Okay, well, it basically says, eat sensibly and exercise regularly, and you're going to be fine. Well, here's a thought. Save your money, skip the diet, and start with the maintenance phase. That's what we're talking about here, right? Yeah. Okay. Take out your little cards that you wrote your list on, okay? I had the chance 2 years ago to be in Barcelona. Great city. And I encountered the architectural designs of Gaudi. Anybody ever looked at a Dr. Seuss book? Okay, all right, you know all those towers and things in Dr. Seuss books that look like they're leaning and they need to get propped up, right? It's all inspired by Gaudi. Gaudi liked to design where he bent shape and have whimsy. You're looking at a picture of, on the right-hand side there, of the Sagrada Familia. It's a cathedral called the Sacred Family. It's dedicated to the family. And it's hard to see in this photo because we couldn't get very close. But on the far right-hand side, the 3 spires you see are not adorned with gargoyles. They have on top of them bunches of fruit. Bananas, pineapples, and cherries. I love this man. I have an apparent connection to the man that puts fruit on top of the building. Every aspect of Gaudi's estates that he designed is prolific. This is a picture of a hallway that goes nowhere just because he wanted it to look like water. And inside the Sagrada Familia, there are pillars that go to, it seems like, to the sky. And you know those pillars aren't symmetrical? They're kind of odd, but beautiful in their asymmetry. And I like to say that we're like these pillars. If you took the Mona Lisa and you took her and cut her in half, and then you flipped one side to the other side to make her symmetrical, she'd look ghastly. It is our asymmetry, it is the uniqueness of us that makes us so beguiling. They took Julia Roberts' mouth and they cut it off and put it on another person, and they look like a horse. But on Julia Roberts, it looks wonderful. Those things that you put a star by, take a look at those on your list. You know, when you disparage those parts of you that you are somehow dissatisfied with, it's like you walk through something far more beautiful than the Sagrada Familia. And you say, man, this is gorgeous, and these pillars, and these arches, and these windows. But this sconce is somehow not up to snuff, and I'm going to rip it off the wall and chuck it on the garbage heap. So let's not do that. What do you say we take a moment to make peace with those items that maybe we have been lugging around for a long time? And the way we do that is we experience gratitude for what we have. when I was a kid and I was in Germany with that same beloved grandmother, she asked me to bring something into her bedroom for her, and she was changing, and she was standing with the light from the window coming in from behind her, and I walked in and saw the profile outline of her legs. And I said, "Oh, Mom, you have my legs." And she said, "No, you have my legs." All my life, I longed for legs that could model skinny jeans and look like the other kids. And I've got great, strong, powerful legs. And it hit me in that moment that these legs that I had previously loathed and wished away connected me to the people I come from. And these same legs allow me to hunch down and dig and weed in my garden for hours, which I love. And these thighs held my babies while I nursed them. And these legs allow me to jump on the trampoline and teach my kids to do tricks and flips, although I can't jump for very long. Take a look at those things with a star by them and finish this sentence that without that feature, finish that sentence. You can even write it right there on the card. Who would you not be connected to? What would you not identify with? What would you not be able to do without that feature? So I want to wrap around to the beginning again and finish with a thought from the lady who sent me her email. This is from Christina after she went through her journey of weight loss. She said, "The way you taught me to eat is so freeing." She said, "Is that a word? I am not focusing on numbers on the scale. I don't count calories. I don't focus on perfection. I don't beat myself up for having an extra slice of cake. I acknowledge that it was too much, and I learned from that experience. I am more patient with myself since I'm learning to listen to my body's messages. I love the energy that I have from eating fuel that my body needs. This experience has been so valuable to me. It has changed my life. I want that for you. I hope you'll come back and get a copy of the book and say hello. And I'm going to be back at the table following the events today, and I'd love to get a hug and have you introduce yourself. Couple of quick things before we take a question or two. I just came back a few weeks ago from 5 days of bliss fishing south of Juneau at Titus Point Lodge. And while I was at this incredible all-inclusive lodge with my own cabin heated by a pot belly stove and chef-prepared meals, catching salmon, I was able to give some workshop classes and do some cooking demos because I'm a chef on TV, so I'm all about the food, and we had fun with seafood. The first thing I did when I got back from Alaska, which touched my soul with His Majesty, like a piece of Alaska's right in me, I gotta get back there. The first thing I did is contract to go back. So if you or you and your friend or partner want to join me, please talk to me about it or go visit my website. And anybody who wants to put a deposit on a week next year and does so before December and says my name gets $300 off per person that registers. So if fishing in Alaska is something that's on your bucket list, please do it and come do it with me because I cannot recommend it highly enough. It's June 27th and July 2nd. There's nothing I love more than connecting with you, and it has been such an honor and a privilege to share a little bit of my story with you. If some of these concepts resonated with you and you would like your chapters to experience in them, please contact your coordinator, and I would be thrilled to come and visit with your state at a rally SID, okay? So that would be all I ask. Let's open it up for 5 minutes. Anybody have a question or have a comment on something that I said? And I want to turn it back to you guys for just 5 minutes. Is there anything that you've connected with really strongly that you're like, yes, that's true? Hello? Is anybody awake? Okay, this gentleman right here and then over here. These two hands.
I saw you at San Luis in our SRD, and you were so right. I reached a goal last September with 42.5-pound loss. I counted not 1 calorie, didn't measure a thing. I wrote down everything I ate. I missed one day, February 14th, 2011, charting my food.
This gentleman, he was in an SRD I spoke at in St. Louis. 42.5-pound loss. Fantastic. Charted everything he's eaten. Hasn't missed a day. Okay, well, it's not what we occasionally do that defines us, right?
December 3rd, I did chart.
Fantastic. Okay, thank you. This hand.
When I saw you earlier, I mentioned that in one of the earlier speakers, he had talked about not coming down on ourselves, and it's working. Switching to the positive thought gives you a lot of freedom.
And she's saying the positive thoughts gives you freedom and it works. It's not because it's magical. It's because thoughts dictate chemistry. Every one of us, we're like a Walmart pharmacy in our heads. We're producing more chemicals than a Walmart pharmacy. And I'm either producing the chemicals that tell me that I'm sated and fine and not munchy, or I'm producing the chemicals that make me munchy. It's all chemistry, and thoughts produce chemistry. So it's not esoteric universe, energy shift stuff. It's real. Absolutely. Thank you. Is there any other comment? Okay, I have time for one last one right here in the aisle.
Watching a child eat when they have had enough things to eat. I have trouble determining when I've had enough. I think a box that fits the ability to tell that I'm satisfied with that.
Okay, she brought up the really key question. Her body's not telling her when she's had enough. And I go into great depth in the book about that. But I would say to you that third key of experiencing food as a healthy, thin person, of asking yourself throughout the process of eating, am I satisfied yet? Took me about 3 days before I started to get the prompt. Ever watch kids eat cake at a party? Okay, they're like just shoveling in the frosting, right? Because we all know cake is just a vehicle to get more frosting in our mouths. And they're eating the frosting, and then all of a sudden, halfway through, they stand up and they go, I gotta go play. And you say, wait, you're not done yet. And they say, well, I don't want anymore. I want to go play. Yeah, but 5 seconds ago, you wanted it. Oh, yeah, but now I don't. Okay, that's chemistry. And if you ask it to be produced, it's reactivated. You just have to be consistent. Okay? Am I satisfied yet? Discrete power to it. And you'll know it when it kicks in, because you will get an aversion to one more bite. Ever had that? Or like, oh no, I cannot eat another bite. That would be gross. Okay, that's aversion. And if you get it at exactly the right moment, when you've had exactly the right amount of food, what would happen to your body? If you did that for a year, you got exactly the right amount of food every day for a year, what would happen? Is that sustainable for the rest of your life? Does that sound like it's a lot of restriction and a lot of diets and a lot of... No. And that's how we live free weight. I want to thank you so much for this opportunity. I love you. Come see me afterward and have a fantastic remainder of IRD. Thank you.
Bathroom.